Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 83rd episode of the Spiritual Brainstorm. In this video, I'd like to maybe go over something more general about this whole video series. And I've entitled this video Meaning and Models. Um, and meaning is a really important question. I mean, you could say that for a long, long time, humanity has always struggled to answer the question of who who are we as humans? Why are we here? And invariably, the answers to those questions were linked to the model or the dogma or the belief system in place at the time. Because who are we under tribalism is, you know, for some of them, it's like fallen gods or something, or gods. Some tribes actually believe that they were gods incarnated in the flesh. And why are we here? Well, is it to honor your ancestors? If you're in a tribal and you call your tribal society and you call your ancestors and the animal spirits and all that and serve the spirits, and you ask them what to do. If you're in monotheist religions, who are we? Well, we are, created. We are the descendants of Adam and Eve, punished because Adam bit in the apple. And why are we here? Well, to be good in order to go to heaven. Um, and so the meaning of life and the purpose and everything changes with the model. And I've tried to steer clear of um, providing too much of a clear meaning for my model because I believe that that's something people should derive from themselves. Like, for instance, science would tell you how reality functions, and then meaning is everyone would make up their own kind of meaning from that information. And of course, it's not all good and rosy because, for instance, in materialist science, you had the emergence of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism, which is basically saying that humans are just conscious kind of machines, robots, with no free will. So ultimately, we can, if we push science to its limits, beyond its limits, and consider that humans are just one cog or one gear in the universe, then we can actually decide on the course of action by a cold blooded mathematical cost benefit analysis. And say, okay, we need to dig a coal mine. How many workers are going to die? About 10 out of 100. Okay, is it worth it? Yeah, sure. um, because they cost us this much and burying them costs this much and the profits we make is this much. And that's something that's basically outside of your control. And I also believe the same for my own information. I i don't think that I would ever have or even want to have control over what meaning people ascribe to it, because that is just not the energy of the day anymore. Nowadays, it's really about every human finding their own kind of purpose and what motivates them, rather than a system that imposes people its vision of purpose and meaning. Like, for instance, you have capitalism. The meaning is work your ass off and then buy yourself some nice things, so you can get a few kicks out of life. This sort of eat, sleep, have sex, and work and reproduce, um, and consume, of course. And yeah, I just don't think that's what I'm supposed to do. Although I do set a bit of a priority on what are the next steps derived from my model, like for instance healing traumas, like for instance the need to harmonize um, human relationships at the micro and at the macro. But ultimately, I believe that the harmony that you find has to be within. And if I give you a meaning or answer these questions um, too precisely, then it would be as if, I'm, for instance, a C major chord. That's the make of my being, and I'm going to try to tend towards that vibration, and that every single note that I have within myself, which are different parts of me that I have to heal, go towards that chord. If somebody else is a F sharp major, and that is the makeup of his being, then what I'm trying to do here is going to completely not apply to this person. What is going to apply are broad principles like harmony, and like these broad principles of follow what resonates with you, or at least having a model which is open enough that it can accommodate for a lot of different meanings rather than a single one. And I always try to give people the choice, and to say that regardless of whether you like my model or not, the whole point is to check your experience. What do you want to experience? Do you want to experience dissonance and not? I mean, you don't want to experience harmony. I mean, totally fine, totally up to everyone. And um, it's like if I explain the basis of harmony in music, then everybody is still very free to listen to Baroque music, which is extremely consonant, or very experimental, atonal, contemporary classical music, which to my ears is um, like they're bleeding basically, and somebody else can find it actually quite fine. Um, but still, I mean, it's about, I'm trying to underline the broad principles. I also don't have any illusion about the timelessness of the so-called truths or the model that I'm developing. I see more of myself as like, this Jules Verne. He's a very famous science fiction writer, a French writer that wrote a lot of classics like Journey to the Center of the Earth, 80 Days Around the World on a Balloon, or To the Moon, going to the moon. And basically, what his work was is to vulgarize or make accessible science, which to many people was abstract at the time, and create sort of fables and stories that made people kind of dream and hope and project themselves in a world where science actually had something to show for its theories, and not just a bunch of papers and theories. So, it's this dreaming, this projecting yourself into the future, and people like imagining, wow, okay, we will be able to go under the sea, like, we'll be able to go to the moon. And if you've read his book Going to the Moon, I mean, he said that it would happen with a cannon, a huge cannon that you would fire at the moon with a capsule in it, like a bullet, which is of course ridiculous from our perspective today. Scientists find it completely completely not plausible. But for the day, what was important is the way that people sort of felt about it. What that it really gave them this kind of enthusiasm, and like just being, pumped about the potential for science and how it could transform their reality. And I'm trying to do the same thing. And probably 200 years from now, if somebody watches my videos from that a level of consciousness, they'll probably have, a nice little smile saying, "Oh, that's cute," kind of like you when you read Jules Verne's analysis of going to the center of the earth and finding a whole world there, and um, with dinosaurs and stuff, and it's cute. But it served the purpose for his day, of kind of fueling this positive energy into science, which actually was opposed to utilitarianism. It was a way to see science in a more human kind of way, and seeing how it would apply to human society in a positive way. So I don't really know actually what my model means for humanity. I'm hoping that actually that's something people will figure out for themselves. And as far as how I'm getting that information, all of this information, I just think that it's who I am. It's like, you're wondering how Beethoven came to compose his symphonies. Um, what makes Beethoven Beethoven? I think that's just a question that is impossible to answer, and I'm just laying my brick on top of the in the whole monument that is humanity, and hopefully everyone will do his or her part. And I'm not trying to be the next Einstein, and I would hope that the next Einstein is not trying to be me, because I have no formulas to present, no concrete operational way of transforming my theories into a technology that'll give us free energy. Um, I'm more, like I said, I more identify with somebody that is just trying to bring something that is reserved for an elite, like science was reserved to a certain elite at the time, into public awareness in a way that is intuitive, nice, and positive, and that carries hope for the future in a world where hope is very much needed, and otherwise it's like this kind of hopelessness. And the same um, phenomenon happened when we went from the Middle Ages, which were, like after the Black Plague, where everything was dark and bleak, into the Age of Enlightenment, which carries its name correctly, which is, this kind of um, positive wave towards new ideas, science, progress, which of course hit a certain limit nowadays with climate change and everything, and now it's turned pessimistic, and we just need this new positive, nudge or whatever, positive wave to compensate. And and in the spiritual world, I wouldn't say that everything is positive. Actually, everything is either it's kind of unicorn positive, where it's all unicorns and rainbows, and sometimes it's too much of that, and sometimes it's really more towards the conspiracy kind of paranoia of breaking out of a prison that was made by cosmic beings and whatever. Um, and I think neither of them are very positive for humanity. Either it's a bit too delusional and naive, or it's just completely you just go completely nuts. And I was actually in both of those states at some point, believing that everything was for the best and that nothing could ever happen to me. I thought I was actually God at some point. I thought I could just walk across the street with cars, and even if they hit me, it wouldn't do anything to me. Thank God I didn't try. And when I started to discover all the UFO and the seeding of the planet and all that stuff and reptilians, I also was on the verge of also going into a full blown panic of an imminent alien invasion. And for going through all of these, I can tell you, um, it's nice to sort of land somewhere in the center. Well, it's not really the center, but settle on something that where your reality, actually where you are, makes sense to you, and you don't feel like materialism is a mistake. You don't feel like you are here by mistake. You don't feel like, you just feel that things are normal, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can just sit around and do nothing, and that everything is going to be fine. Just like when you cross the street, you still have to watch out for cars and stuff. It's just yeah. So hopefully that's what I achieved, or am trying to achieve through my video series. And maybe actually I'm hoping you're going to tell me or share what you think, what the meaning of all of this is, for the future. And I have no illusion again about my model. My model is going to be there for a little while, maybe, and the model of others, of course, because I'm not the only one that is saying these things. I mean, you find a lot of this wisdom is in other books, like the series of Conversations with God or Eckhart Tolle. I mean, there's just so many spiritual teachers out there, and their books and their vision of the world is going to provide me a certain meaning for humanity for the next 200-300 years. And then those humans in the future, what meaning they will get out of life once we are born as a collective global organism, I mean, that's completely out of our hands. It's like asking somebody in the Middle Ages, what do you think is going to be the meaning of life for people under capitalism, and material science? I mean, it's something way beyond its imagination. And it makes me think of, this very funny scene in Back to the Future 3, where Doc gets drunk in a bar in the wild, wild west, like in the far west, and in the mid 19th century. And he talks about the future and saying, well, people will have these motored vehicles, and they'll actually be running around for fun, and doing sports for fun. And everybody's just laughing in the bar. Yeah, like, right, yeah, right. People will be running around for fun. Who I mean, who would run around just to have fun when you're walking, 20 miles a day, and horseback riding and breaking your back and everything? I mean, it's hilarious. And I think it's that kind of scenario, where I actually have no clue what people are going to make of this in 200, 300 years. I don't even know what they're going to make of it now, because again, just like science was very new to people and they didn't know what to do with like materialism, and then certain meanings, negative meanings like utilitarianism emerged. Some other positive ones, like Jules Verne and progress, modernity, and helping humanity, and gain a sort of sense of comfort and stability and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, you tell me what you think the meaning of all of this is, and hope you find this interesting. Don't hesitate to comment, ask questions, and see you in the next video.